Hey gang, Lou here from Jersey Shore Fabricators. And it's been a while since I put a video up. Things have been kind of busy, but this week I'm actually taking vacation. I have a day job. Anybody who knows me knows that I have a day job, as most people do. And then I come into the shop. So my typical day is from 5:30 in the morning to 11:30 at night. It makes for a long day. So this is actually my second day of vacation. Day one was fixing the house. Had some plumbing jobs to take care of, little things here and there, catch up on bills, do some shopping. Actually went out and socialized. I'm not doing that again. It's too people-y out there. So the other thing that we were doing is we have a puppy, and he likes to jump out of my yard. So I spent money on a wireless collar system, a wireless containment system. So we're working with him with that, and that's a little challenging, but I think he's finally getting it. I hope he's getting it. So as far as the Mustang, the car's undercoated, all the hard lines are in. Today I'm going to be doing the rubber lines. The front half of the car is undercoated, repainted the engine compartment the proper color of black. Motor's torn apart. We're going to be doing seals, rear main seal, oil pan gasket, water pump, alternator, power steering pump, all the things that you would do on a motor that's been sitting and you want to start it up and make sure everything works right the first time. So where we're at with the car is we're down to a bunch of boring stuff. And I'm really not going to take the time to video all that. Cleaning and painting brackets, reupholstering the seats, it's all basic stuff. However, there will be some things that I video just to kind of take you on the trip and give you some tips and tricks. Wiring harness is ordered. You got to go down and order the paint on Monday. Suspension is ordered. That's on its way. Torque converter is ordered. That's on its way. July 5th, the car leaves to go get the vinyl top and headliner put in. Then after that, my guy comes and puts the glass in, and then hopefully after that, it drives out of here. So I'll keep you guys updated. Just wanted to let you know what's going on. Bunch of boring stuff going on. It's not worth videoing. And we'll see you in a day or two. Keep everybody updated. All right, so I'm in the middle of detailing out the rear axle, and we got some new parts. Case in point, we got a rear brake hose. Now, this is the difference between your average car and sort of taking it to the next level. New parts are nice and shiny. They're great. But eventually they're going to rust. So before you go and just bolt this on the car, unless it's an emergency, now's the time to go ahead and take it and mask off the rubber part. And masking around things sometimes can be challenging because you may get into the metal or you may not have enough on the rubber. So you kind of want to force it up as you're going around, and then when I peel the tape, what I like to do is fold the edge over in half so I know where the end of it is, and then just tape that down. Now for the rest of it, it's quite simple. Nice wide masking paper. We don't have to worry about getting all the way to the top. Run it down to about there. Just take it, fold it over itself, fold it over the hose. Now if your tape's not wide enough, like mine, you still have some black exposed, no problem. Just run another piece of tape. It's only masking tape, don't make more. And this blue tape I like a lot, because it comes off pretty easy, doesn't leave any residue behind. A little more. Just like that. Now you can go ahead and paint everything, and it'll last for a few years before it starts rusting, rather than if you just put it on in bare metal, it's going to last 1 or 2 rainstorms. So there you go, little trick. Alright, now I tell people all the time, you play around with old cars long enough, eventually you're going to run into nut and bolt problems. Case in point, we have this bracket that has to go here to mount the front bumper. Problem is, right here, I can feel it, but the capture nut is actually broken off. And this frame is solid all the way around, so there's no way to get in there. See, we got a nut there, no nut there. So the plan is quite simple. I have the original bolt that came out with a nut that has an integral washer on it. We're going to open up this hole, stick that in there, weld it in, problem done. Now you can't just weld a washer and a nut on the outside here, because if you do that, then your bracket is going to have this huge gap back here, and you'll never be able to get your bumper lined up. So I'm using my air grinder. I'm just going to stick this in here and hollow this out until it fits. Okay, so now we got a nice tight fit where this will pass all the way through if I wanted to, and it'll come back out. So what I'll do is I'll weld this in just below the surface of the frame. Again, we don't want anything in between the bracket and the frame rail itself. So I'll get this cleaned up and prepped, get it welded in, and it'll be good as new. Okay, so what I've done quite simply is I've used a bolt to hold on to the nut, put it in the hole, we got a couple of tacks on there. I'll go ahead and finish welding that in. And I got that welded all the way around, now we'll clean it up. Okay, so now it's cleaned up, surface is flat all the way around. Pretty close to what the factory did. It's going to be behind the bracket, so it doesn't have to be perfect. But without cutting the frame open and putting another capture nut, that's all we can do. And now for the test. Good as new. And this is what it looks like with the bracket on there. Perfect. Okay, so turn our attention back to that rear brake line. All painted up, dried nice and nice. Now, it's just a matter of unwrapping it. Now this is where folding that tape over so you can get a hold of it, and then just unwrap it. Perfect. And same thing on this side. Now it's ready to go back in the car and it'll last. Now when you're building a car, there's a recipe, there's a formula, there's a procedure. Okay, first thing you do is all of your fabrication for rust repair, things like that. Next is going to be fitment or pre-assembly. And then after that you go to final assembly and then you go to paint. Well, as I've stated a number of times before, this guy built this car ass backwards. So, case in point, he painted the car without having all the parts for the car. What we're dealing with here is the rear valance for the car. So we got a brand new one from CJ Pony Parts. Nice piece. It's got the right lines in it. It's made out of right thickness metal. You know, however, whenever you're dealing with a replacement panel, no matter how good it is, you know, whether it's coming from AMD, whether it's coming from Goodmark, be prepared to spend some time fitting it and modifying and grinding, whatever you got to do. The reason being is that if you paint the car and then you have to fit things and then repaint, it's not going to come out right. So basically what's going on here, out of the box, this tab here, shouldn't even say it's tab, but this end of it is bent. Apparently it got dropped in shipping. No big deal. We can straighten that out with a hammer and dolly, pair of vice grips, whatever. But also when we look at how this line here fits, we're going to have to spend some time making that right. The other thing is that the idiot who was building this car, I guess, was trying to, I don't know, he got a little crazy with the welder, but all the holes, all these screw holes that are here, he welded them all in. So we're going to have an issue with that. And then down here, right where my finger is, there's a bracket that has a hole that gets a T-bolt that's supposed to go into another hole in the quarter panel. Well, guess what he didn't do? Let me rephrase that. Guess what he did? He went and fixed the quarter panel with whatever he fixed it with and didn't make a new hole for that. So, like I said, just be prepared to spend some time fitting and grinding and whatever it takes to get it to fit right. Now over on the driver's side, the hole is there, but we still have a little bit of a fitment issue. Okay, we still have a huge gap here. Not really happy with that, so we're going to have to do some tweaking up here. We're going to have to do some tweaking right around here. You can see where this is kind of running into this. So, we'll get back to you after we get that straightened out. Okay, so a lot of stuff is done. Finally moving on to the wiring. And when you're dealing with a very old vehicle, people say, yeah, you know, the wiring worked, this kind of worked, that kind of worked. Yeah, here's the thing. Here's the fuse panel. And here's the back side of it. So all that rust and corrosion there is going to make terrible connections and just lead to problems with the car down the road. A lot of this wiring is just old and crusty. Really not a whole lot that's savable out of this. But when you're doing this and you're taking everything out of the car, do not throw anything away until you're done. Now, I did take out the rest of the firewall insulation and was greeted by all this. That's fun. And then inside the vent, looks like something was living in there. But the reason why I'm bringing you to all this is the wire harness that goes to the back of the car, where it lays inside this channel right here. And this wire here, you can see, is all chewed up, bare, exposed. So I'm sure they've been fighting us short on this thing for some time. Well, the issue is that eventually it'll cause a fire. And this is why you don't want a dummy working on your car. Now, when you're doing restorations, you're going to have to get into the nuts and bolts of things, literally. So here we have a pile of the original oil pan bolts. And you can see they're painted, their guy painted right over all the grease and everything. So, what you want to do, go to the store, get yourself a bucket of carburetor cleaner. Get yourself a drill with a wire wheel. And then go to town on it. All steel brush in there. And
Turn it over, do the thread side. And then when you get done, it's good as new. What I like to do is I like to put them right back in the holes they came out of, so I know where they all went. That oil pan was nasty. That's why my bench is a mess. This thing was full of sludge and coked up oil and nasty. It was about 2.5 hours cleaning that out, never mind cleaning the outside. But it's looking pretty good. So finish this and then I'll get everything back on the motor. We're finally ready to paint the motor on this. You can see it's just a straight 6. The paint process on it is really no different than for a car, except for all the extra grease and everything else. Now, like I showed you on the oil pan, you know, you want to get all the bolts facing the same way. Just makes it a better appearance when you're done. On the side of the motor here, we have the same thing going on, and on the front of the motor, the same thing going on. Basically, what you want to do is get yourself a red Scotch-Brite pad, wax and grease remover, pre-painting prep, something like that. You want to go over the entire surface of everything. Clean it, clean it, clean it. When you think it's clean enough, clean it again. You want to make sure that all the grease and everything from in between all the little pit areas are gone. Do all your prep work while everything is apart. And then just hit it up with some high heat primer, and then whatever color you're going with. In our case, this is going to be black because on 64 and 65 cars, the motors were black with red valve covers and a red air cleaner. The other thing you want to do is tape up all of your gasket areas. You don't want paint underneath your gasket because once the paint heats up, if it fails, then the gasket's going to fail. So just take a second now, tape everything up, and have at it.